Greetings and thanks for joining us for this episode of Stay Sharp in Digital Engineering. We are continuing our digital product series with Propel Software for part 2, where we get to ask some questions of Eric Schrader, the Chief Product Officer of Propel, about their PVM platform. We explore how Propel goes beyond traditional PLM to unify teams, processes, and data across the product lifecycle. Eric shares how industries like medtech, industrial, and consumer goods, along with other startups, are benefiting from Propel's approach to managing product data. Learn how they're applying AI, compliance management, and collaboration tools to drive real value in an organization. Let's jump in. Well, welcome back, everybody, to Stay Sharp in Digital Engineering, the podcast about all things digital related to products, from engineering to manufacturing and service and beyond. So I'm one of your hosts, Julianne Grant, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Jonathan Scott.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Jonathan. How are you today?
Good. Glad to be back in the saddle yet again.
Yeah, again, yes, I agree. So today's podcast, we are working on our digital product series, and we're back with Propel Software. So we had Tom Shoemaker on here a few weeks back, who came on to talk about Propel and share a little of the background of the history of the company. But today we have a new guest from Propel who's going to share a little bit more about their PLM platform, the Propel's Product Value Management, PVM platform. And so to do that, we've invited in Eric Schrader, who is the Chief Product Officer at Propel. Welcome, Eric.
Hi, Julianne. Hi, Jonathan. Great to join you today.
We're really glad to have you here. So let me tell you a little bit about Eric. So as I said, he's the Chief Product Officer at Propel. And Propel is a SaaS provider dedicated to helping high-tech, medtech, and consumer good companies build compelling and profitable products. So Eric is a serial entrepreneur with an extensive background scaling high-growth startups from early stage through IPO and beyond. He previously held executive roles as Chief Customer Officer at BetterWorks and Vice President of Global Professional Services at Coupa Software. Now, Eric has a lot of experience scaling companies at Agile Software and Coupa and has been recognized through his inclusion as a Customer Success Fellow at Sapphire Ventures and as a fellow in Stanford University's Distinguished Careers Institute from 2019 to 2020. So when I asked Eric what his fun fact was, he told us that he took some time to go back to Stanford as a student, but also as his fellow role, and mentor some folks in the startup community. So he really has a passion for helping startups, and you can hear that in his background. So quite a background there, Eric. Thank you for joining us today.
Great to be here.
Yeah, and I just want to jump right in because you clearly have a lot of relevant background in this space, including that time you spent at Agile and in the software space in general. And one of the things I want to get into today, right, from our conversation with Tom and what leads into this is how Propel sees this space of digital engineering and manufacturing a little bit differently, right? I think you guys bring something new and interesting to the game in terms of the problems you're trying to solve for companies that have products. So just to set that stage a little bit, Julianne, you mentioned it. The Product Value Management Platform. It's not an acronym that lots of people say, oh yeah, we're that. I'll say you guys introduced it, right? So, I think I'll jump in with that first question and ask, Eric, how do you describe Product Value Management, the platform that you guys provide, to new prospective customers? How do you orient them to what that means? And what kind of categories do you put it in? Other categories people might, relate to better or have heard of. How do you tie that together for people when they're trying to sort of put you in the right place, understand what you guys are?
Right. And when we talk to customers and prospects, we really don't try and push exactly the PVM moniker, but we do talk about managing product from concept to customer. And that's what we think of as product value management. And it's really about connecting the value chain of the product across its life cycle. So while Propel's roots are really in PLM, we saw that the solutions in the market around PLM were really stopping short of connecting all of the teams within the organization around product. So, teams like the go-to-market teams, marketing and sales, as well as customer-facing teams like support and field service. And to do that effectively, it goes way beyond the traditional kind of engineering and manufacturing viewpoint that most PLMs get monikered to. And so we offer kind of a broader range of those three-letter acronyms, certainly PLM, as that is a core part of our roots. But we also hit hit the categories of quality management, QMS, and also PIM, so product information management. And so the QMS quality processes provides essential feedback to product teams. So that's a big part of making an effective product is also to get that feedback, and the quality processes are really giving you that. And it allows the product teams to design for quality or improved SLAs and uptimes. And our product information management capabilities helps with all the product information that gets that isn't under engineering control, but still needs to be there in order to go to market. So what you see on Amazon or, the characteristics, those aren't the engineering specifications, although there's engineering specifications behind those. It's the language of the market. And so we need to manage the whole process. You're trying to also expand on what that engineering definition is into the marketing definition and that go-to-market language that prospective customers are going to understand. And so by pulling these categories together, we have the goal of kind of creating this one product thread that unites the product across the company and their interactions with the market. So we just see this as a way to democratize this product data and allow everyone to have access to it.
Well, and that makes sense, right? And I think it's something we discuss a fair amount on the show is the lifecycle part of product lifecycle management, right? And you guys have emphasis on these other parts of the lifecycle that don't always get touched like they should. Sales and marketing up front, service and support out at the back, quality, some of these other areas. And I appreciate what you said about tying to some of those other acronyms as well, like PIM. A lot of people who are in the retail space or consumer product space understand PIM. A lot of people who are outside of it don't. And I like what you said there about the marketing language, the sort of the marketing face of things that really are technical specifications on the back end. Engineers might know it as, IEEE spec, blah, 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 blah. And everybody else is like, oh, it's a USB-C connector, right? So, when you're buying something and you want to know all those details are coming from somewhere, but they're not exactly the pure technical stuff that's way behind the scenes. So yeah, it makes sense that all those things together are what you're bringing into an offer. And that is a little different than what we see in some of those more traditional PLM systems that are kind of engineering, manufacturing focused. So that explanation makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so in the highest degree, it is really still product lifecycle management, but we added value around it because it is really associated to what end you're doing this, which is revenue, which is sales in different regions, and what that means in a go-to-market motion and in a support motion.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit more about, I really like that, matching up the buyer's side of what a buyer sees, because that's what, as consumers, we're all very familiar with. But then when people think about PLM, they think it's very technical, but you're right. It ties the engineering with the front end of the market. So where is this playing well? Where are you seeing people really gravitate towards this approach?
I think in generally it works across a lot of industries, but there are a few that it really resonates with. So companies that are highly regulated, like medtech companies, these companies benefit from the controls and audit trails around their product offering. And they also benefit from the closed loop aspect of connecting quality and product together and closing that loop and making sure that you have traceability around those issues that you might find. Companies that have fast-moving product innovation cycles are also drawn to Propel offerings. So those are like high-tech and consumer goods are good examples of that. And there, it's the keeping everyone on the same page while you're trying to bring that to market, so it doesn't fall into the abyss after engineering and before your actual go to market. So those are important industries as well. And then I think the other area is there are a lot of companies that do custom product development, but they try and do it around some standards. So industrial equipment companies are good examples where they're trying to get to a high level of reuse, but they still need to win deals by customizing aspects of their offering. And so, and they do that and determine kind of timeline and cost that they include in their proposals. So, as we connect also to CRMs in our process, it is a good touch point to understand that sometimes you have to win the business in the product company, and those industrial equipment companies are usually, they have core products, but they're also tailoring them for specific needs of individual customers, right? So that's another industry that's really our solution resonates with.
And if I hear what you're saying there, right, Eric, it's about that combination of the technical and the offer back to the sales process and the quoting and getting that to be fast and responsive when you've got a product that does need to adjust to the customer. Is that what we're talking about there?
Exactly.
Okay. So I want to sort of drill in a little bit to what you were saying a few minutes ago when we were talking about where does PVM, how do you position that, right? And you mentioned PLM, QMS, and PIM, all of those. Let's go a little bit deeper. Talk about the capabilities. Like if you could list 5 to 10 kind of key capabilities that you highlight for customers when you're talking to them about, hey, here's what Propel is, and here's what makes us different or unique, or the combination that makes us unique. What are those couple of capabilities you would highlight if you had to drill down a little?
Well, we tend to think of Propel and highlighting it covering 7 core process areas. And so I'll touch on capabilities in each of those process areas, but new product development is the first, and there it's integration with mechanical CAD and electrical CAD, management of bills of material, and their changes, right? And then there's supplier management, and that's collaborating and on the sourcing of a product and the manufacturing of that product. So sharing data with the right controls is a big part of what we do there, and making that data accessible and collaborating on it. Product quality as a set of processes. This is really about that closed loop quality process that I mentioned before. And we've also done some innovation here where we extend allowing the quality issue to be identified by a serial number, and then tracking that serial number back to the rev that created it, so that quality can speak in their language and engineering can speak in their language, right? I have this quality issue against serial number 1234, but that's really item 1000-100 rev D. And so now I can actually go in and affect that. So we do a lot of processes around that. Compliance management. So we think of compliance in 2 ways. One is for our medtech companies, we think of this, in an FDA-related way. And that's all, the benefits of having an auditable process. But we also think of it in a go-to-market compliance. So if you're going to ship your product to various countries to sell, and you're making your business plan based on that, then you need to make sure that you're meeting the compliance, which is regulatory compliance, might be RoHS or REACH, it might be digital product passport and recyclability content. So that compliance management we're also focused on. And then there's that product go-to-market. That's where, kind of the PIM processes do come in, and that's really transitioning those engineering deliverables into sales and marketing deliverables to streamline the launch. And finally, field service is kind of the 7th process area, and that's really connecting support to quality and things like case to complaint, and making all of this available in, I would say, collaboration is a key capability that we offer. It's adaptive workflow. We have a notifications engine that is highly tailored to bring in just the people that are needed and exclude, streamline it and make it faster and only include the people necessary in other cases. And in any PLM system, I think openness of integration is a big part of our platform. And finally, the thing that everybody's talking about these days is AI.
Right.
And so we,
who isn't?
Yeah, exactly. So we have we're focused on that from a persona perspective, and really having more of a assistant or an agent helping along the way and making a user's use of a PLM or a PVM system that much more effective.
And I don't want to give away, I'm sorry, Julianne, I don't want to give away what, I want to ask you about here in a minute when it comes to tech, But I can't help but touch on that as you were mentioning that sort of closing the loop on quality and like the support case back to quality and sort of tying everything back in. It makes me think, reminds me of the fact that, you guys are running on the Salesforce platform. And I think a fair number of your customers see that as an advantage or another, almost a capability. How does that one fit? Is that sort of in the mix also, or is it just a sort of a fundamental characteristic of how you're built that says, yeah, it's tied in? That's what gives us some of the more complete life cycle.
Yeah, and I think customers choose to implement that in different ways. And we're an OEM provider on the Salesforce platform, which means you don't have to be a Salesforce customer in order to use Propel. So you can just buy Propel, and it has all of the infrastructure. Now, you're not going to get a CRM with Propel, but you will get those. It's designed in, like those touch points are designed in. So we inherently touch, a product in a product catalog. And so if that's not Salesforce, it's at least an integration point. We inherently touch a serialized asset. If that's not Salesforce's asset, that's at least an integration point for customers to think of in other ways, or to a case from a support perspective. So I think it helps us in the sense that we're looking at those touch points all the time and trying to wring value out of those touch points or accelerate decisions that can be made by sharing data across those touch points. Just this, about a year ago, we released a product called Product Spotlight, which lets us take our product details and display them for other personas within the organization so that they can make a slightly better decision. So that portability of product information is, I think, a key differentiator that sometimes our customers lock in on.
That's what I really wanted to get at, right? I know it's hard to describe it as its own capability, but there's something unique there that I wanted to make sure the audience heard about. And like you said, you don't have to be using Salesforce to be using Propel, but if you are, there's something you don't want to miss. And that's what I want to make sure we were touching on there. So thanks for sort of clarifying all that.
Yeah, well, what I was hearing is the using the personas and presenting the information to the persona is really an interesting approach, because you started with the core of Salesforce, which is customer information oriented. I mean, it's like you said, it's catalogs, it's products, it's how people are buying, and then you're taking that information and you're presenting what's meaningful to the different people, whether it's technical or not. So I think that's really interesting. Just a little bit more on the integration. Where else are you seeing integrations? Because it sounds like you have a lot of the functionality, you have the quality. You're talking about compliance and things like that. Where are you seeing the most common integrations for PVM?
I mean, there's the typical touch points of CAD and ERP from a more of the engineering side. CRM on the go-to-market side. I think service and support on our touch points for quality, but feedback into product. And we see those commonly. But we also see external sources of data as data enrichment opportunities. So for that compliance area, we integrate with companies like Silicon Expert so that engineers have that detailed information of compliance early on in the design cycle. But we also have a partnership with QPoint, which provides compliance certificates for the various countries so that they can do a full material roll-up, full material disclosure as part of the launch of a product. And those certs are required in order to sell on, in a marketplace or sell to a given country or region. So it's, that Prop, what is it for California? It's like Prop 65 cert. So those are all certifications that our customers are having to manage as they go to market. They have to meet requirements of the local countries if they're going to sell into those countries. So it's a big part of requirements from an engineering perspective, but it needs to represent itself in the resultant compliance certs that are needed to go to market.
Yeah, that's really
nice.
Interesting. Some of those integrations you mentioned, right? They're not the traditional there are some of those, but they're not all the traditional ones that you hear people talk about. And it relates back to that perspective that you're bringing on the product about compliance and sales and needing data from other sources. So I really like that point. The question I wanted to come back to earlier, I didn't want to spoil with my question about being on top of Salesforce, is about tech, right? So in this space, when we talk about digital engineering and manufacturing and what various products are, it's always interesting for our audience to hear what's the tech behind things and what tech are you using? Are you looking at in the future? The kinds of things that they want to know about, like programming languages or tools or frameworks or things like that. So can you get geeky with me for a minute and tell us a little bit about tech and that sort of thing?
Oh, boy.
So more than happy to. So as you mentioned, we're built, it used to be called the Force.com platform, but now it's just Salesforce platform. And so we're built on top of that. So what we get with that is a huge leg up. So we're already, we already get a level of the hosting and the global footprint that we can have from being on that platform. So whether it's needs to be deployed in another country or whether you need GovCloud, we have that covered from a platform perspective. And all of the IT touch points, whether it be single sign-on or integration or those sort of things, like data replication, data security, all of those things are also kind of provided by that platform. So we are writing rules on top of that. We're defining our application on top of that. So we can the $1 billion+ that Salesforce is innovating with on an annual basis is we're innovating on top of that innovation. So it's kind of innovation squared. And a lot of the common things like the collaboration points of like even just having Chatter or some sort of chat tool integrated in the context of your BOM or your product is key to keeping context for customers. Those sort of things are all in there. And then most importantly, these days is Agentforce. So Agentforce is the AI layer within Salesforce, and we're able to build on top of that. And the great thing about the way that Salesforce has made this available to partners like Propel is that we're leveraging all of the code that we've created over the course of our history, and we can turn those into agent actions. And so rather than training a LLM to do a specific task, we are influencing the task and the actions that an agent can take by giving it the context or the rails. It's going to stay inside the rails of the guardrails of the definition of our product, which means, when I release a bill of material, all of the products have to be at the same life cycle or at least at a certain life cycle. When if you configure certain required fields, we're going to enforce those, even though you didn't have to train an agent to do that. So there's what we're seeing is an acceleration of AI use cases and really taking it from the typical chat-based AI to more of an action-based UI, and in some cases removing the UI and just asking questions of your product. What's the specification say about this fact or that fact? And it will read the document and give you back the answer that's associated to the product that you're on. So it gives context as well. So I think, we get a lot of benefit from the platform. We're able to innovate on top of it, but the AI aspect is, I think, a huge accelerant for us these days.
That makes a lot of sense, right? That I'm sort of curious what's under the hood there, but I like that idea of AI with guardrails, right? Based on things that you've already said, well, you want to automate that. You want to be able to do that, but let's give that capability to something that's a little more flexible. One more thing on that tech topic. What about when people want to sort of do their own thing, right? Are they programming by learning the Salesforce under the hood? Are they learning Propel? Are they learning both? And then they're using REST APIs. How are they making it their own, and how much are they able to do that?
They're able to do quite a bit there, but
Okay.
a major tool that a lot of our customers use is a capability called Flow. And so this is a visual editor that's just letting you define conditions and actions, and just defining a flow that operates on a set of data. And so all of that is not code. It's basically a no-code way to get automation to occur. And it's the most common automation that customers tend to do. And what we do is publish a standard set of events that can be the starting point for a flow. So you kind of need an event. So is it going to be the release of the change or a creation of an item? What event do you want to make it part of? And also some of those kind of packaged up actions that you think of. So that you can point to those same building blocks and essentially design whatever customization you might want. Additionally, there's a layer on the UI that is customizable. We call that Lightning Web Components, but it's customizable to show the view of the data that you want. And you can do that in the context of the user that is actually logged in. So I can show a quality person one set of tabs about a product, and I can show an engineering person another set of tabs about the same product. So we have a very flexible way to define those, what is going to be lessen the kind of workload on the user for the given persona that they are. And so that leads to better user adoption, that you can make decisions quicker when you're bringing together just the information they need and not having to pick through, 10 tabs of data and scroll. So that UX piece that is highly customizable as well lets you define those page layouts for any persona that you want. And additionally, you can then group those together and call it an app. And you can assign that as the app to the supply chain team, or that as the app to the marketing team.
Well, it makes sense, right? It's that extension of that persona concept, right? Let me put the right things together that people need to use to do their job or their organization's job, that kind of thing. So I like it.
Yeah, I like that too. It must help with user adoption. I mean, it's because you're not forcing people to view things the way, what a traditional, without that UX capability. It's like, so this is the engineering information. This is it. So
and it's merging that data many times with just the data that they manage. It might be a marketing person that has other data to manage, but you're bringing in just a bit of that product view in order for them to make the right decisions.
Well, this has been really an interesting conversation, Jonathan.
Absolutely.
We are coming up against our time. I hate to say it, but time does fly when we're having these conversations.
It does.
Yeah. So maybe we should just move into our summary section, unless you have one. We probably have time for one more question, but it's up to you.
I've got tons of information here, so I'm happy to summarize. I'm ready to go because that was a lot of good information about the platform, Eric. So I'll jump in, Julian, if that's okay. I mean, I think what I heard was, product value management platform, what that means. And like you said, Eric, you're not pushing that on people like, hey, you have to use it, but you're using it to help them understand it's PLM and it's some other things too, right? And you could put that together, you could put the acronyms together with some capabilities to really understand it, but it's PLM about more of the lifecycle than just engineering and manufacturing, but it's product information management also, and it's quality management, and it's connecting the dots on all those so that you really can go closed loop on things, right? So I heard, yep, we're managing bills of material. Yep, we're managing change. Yep, we're managing CAD. Yep, we're managing all the PLM things that you're thinking of there. But we're also doing collaboration and persona-based collaboration. You're seeing the right information at the right time. People in their various roles get the right information that they need, but they can use these underlying capabilities of the Salesforce platform, like Chatter and things like that, to have that collaboration. You're also doing things with, product quality, with compliance. And I appreciate you sort of identifying the two different parts of compliance. There could be like industry specific, like you're doing med devices, but tying back to this idea of looking at upfront in the sales and marketing pieces of your products, thinking about the markets you're going to launch in, right? Am I certified in those markets? Those kinds of things. Field service, right? That's this closed loop concept you brought up. I'm getting a case coming in. I'm figuring out where that goes. I'm getting it routed to field service. I'm seeing how that connects back to quality and product planning the next time around. So all these things tying together, that's what I heard in terms of what PVM means or should represent to people, is it is looking at a more holistic view of the product and the value, where the value is. Let's see, other things I heard. We talked about industries a little bit. I heard some of the drivers behind industries we even talked to Tom about, but things like regulations, fast cycles, and tying back to the sales process, right? Those are all things that are kind of characteristics of the industries that you named and why the solution seems to meet those industries of medtech, high-tech, consumer goods, industrial equipment seems to meet their needs well. The other thing I heard when we were transitioning from capabilities into integration that really caught my ear was not just standard integration. So yes, those are there. Like you mentioned CAD, you mentioned ERP, you mentioned other business systems, right? Naturally, CRM and service because of the focus that you have, but also data feeds, right? I think that's really interesting. You highlighted that with compliance as you were describing some of those third-party data providers who can bring data into the platform that you need related to the lifecycle of your product. So you're not just, I know it's kind of silly to say this, when you integrate with ERP, yeah, you're moving data back and forth, but I mean sort of new data outside of your organization that you're bringing in. I think that's an interesting point you brought up. And then lastly, as we were digging into tech a bit, I like this idea that, so you've got all the capabilities that Salesforce is investing in their platform that people are getting the benefit of. Then there's the layer that you write on top of that, right? The logic that adds to that. And some of the capabilities that's bringing to people today, you mentioned a few. Flow, right? So this idea of low code, no code, sort of automation of events and tasks and things like that. The accessibility of that sort of capability on the AI front now is really interesting. And the other one I heard was, I didn't write the name down. No, I did. Lightning Web Components, about this sort of UX and UI capability to enforce that persona-based view of things that you have. Give people the right information at the right time, package it up, deliver it how they need to use it, and think about these processes, not just data and screens. So that's what I caught out of what we talked about related to the platform today. Eric, what did I miss? What did we not highlight that we should have talked about, or what did I not get quite right?
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't double down on the AI aspect. And so a lot of those elements of flow, those actions, we think about it as, topics and essentially instructions about those topics. So a topic could be, how do I manage a bill of material, or how do I manage my change process? But then I think of all the actions in that, or the skills that I need to have. So I need to understand, whether I need to understand what's blocking me from getting this released, and is it signatures, or is it required data? Is it a list of tasks that need to be completed before I can release this change? All of those things are things that we're incorporating into our agents to help our customers just remove the mundane and do things quicker. And that's what we're spending our time on these days. It's exciting to see this as you put it in the hands of customers. A big part of what our customers are trying to unlock these days is how to get the value out of the unstructured data, which are the attachments and the documents that are related to the structured data, which are the item record, or the bill of material, or the change. How can you unlock that unstructured data, those attachments, and just be able to ask it questions that you might want to get the answer to? And even some of our medtech companies are doing this because they have to create training quizzes. They'll say, read this document and create 10 multiple choice questions for me. So connecting both that agentic activity with an LLM that can be generative and really compress something that might have taken a week or so down to a matter of hours.
I like it.
Very interesting. Yeah. It's a very unique platform. Learned a lot today. Thank you for that.
It's been great.
Yeah, it's been great. So with that, I think we're going to get ready to close out. But I want to thank you, Eric, for your time today. This was very informative. I want to dig in and see more of the product after the fact, because I want to see how this persona-based viewing of information works. And I really like what you're talking about with the AI, because your company is one of the first ones actually to come out to the market with this agentic AI capability. So I want to make sure you get props for that as well.
Absolutely.
I'd be happy to come back and talk to you about it.
All right, that sounds great. So with that, everybody, we're going to close out today's episode. Thank you to Eric. Thank you to Jonathan for being here with us today and having this conversation. And as usual, we have a lot of angles that we could cover. So if anyone has any questions for Eric or questions about the platform, please make sure to make a comment on our post and give a like to our post if you enjoyed this conversation. And we're always up for other ideas and for future episodes. If you'd like to see more from Eric and the Propel team, let us know what that would be. And with that, we will thank you for your time. We appreciate you listening. We know you have a lot of choices in what you're listening to, so we appreciate you listening to us. And until next time, everybody, hope you stay sharp. Thanks.
Thanks, Eric. That was great.
Thanks.
Thanks for being here and listening to this episode of Stay Sharp with Razor Leaf. If you like this podcast, please be sure to hit that like button. I really appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Or you can always watch us on YouTube. Now, if you have any questions for Eric Schrader, please just leave a comment on this post or send us an email to podcast@razorleaf.com. We will be sure he'll get that. But until next time, everybody, stay sharp.